Hello everyone, my name is Tez Stair and I'll be presenting some surprising patterns in nest visitations that we've uncovered using RFID. Nest site selection is a critically important decision that every nesting animal needs to make. A low quality nest can decrease the likelihood that a reproductive attempt succeeds and can increase the risk of mortality. A high quality nest, however, could provide substantial fitness benefits to those that can locate and use them. In the case of cavity nesting species, appropriately sized cavities are inherently limited, especially for secondary cavity nesters like these wood ducks and tree swallows. When these birds are deciding where to lay their eggs, they need to seek out and find cavities and then select which known cavity to nest in. In this talk, we will be looking at 3 wild populations of wood ducks in the California Central Valley, all of which nest exclusively in artificial nest boxes like the one shown here. So nest site selection is critical, but how do we study it? Usually we begin by going to a nest box, grabbing a bird, and recording their band number. When we do that across an entire field season, we usually get results like this. Here we see every hen in our population across the x-axis, and these red bars represent the number of nest boxes that they were recorded in by hand. When we look at how many nest boxes each hen visited, we see not much variation. Most hens visit one nest, while a few visit 2 nests. So the question I want to ask is, are we missing anything? In the last example, there was very little variation in nest site visits between hens. We have some idea of what's going on, but do we actually know what we think we know? Importantly, we also used another observational technique, radio frequency identification, RFID. By injecting tiny implants into every duck in our populations, adult and duckling alike, and equipping every nest with an RFID reader and antenna, we were able to record every time any individual in any of our populations entered a nest box. So this is the same figure from a couple slides ago, but with the y-axis stretched out a bit. Again, these are hen records collected by hand. And this is what it looks like when we add in our RFID records. Suddenly, the amount of variation expressed between individuals is much more substantial. Moreover, many individuals that were never caught by hand were recorded as being present and active in our populations with RFID. Overall, about a quarter of the hens that were recorded by RFID at our field sites were never caught by hand. If we hadn't been using RFID, our estimates of everything from population size to recruitment could be underestimated. So far we've looked at variation among hens, but boxes also vary, and presumably so does their quality and attractiveness to hens. So what can we say about the differences in the number of hens visiting each box? If we take the same approach as before and look only at hens captured by hand, there doesn't appear to be much variation in hens visiting boxes. Many boxes have 1 hen captured in them, while a few have 2 hens. Once again, when we incorporate the RFID data, the story changes completely. The variation in number of hens visiting each box dramatically increases. Some boxes are visited by more than a dozen different hens, while others are visited by only a single hen. Others, not shown here, were not visited at all. Across nearly 200 nest boxes, when we include RFID records with our in-hand records, we can see hens are visiting a majority of the boxes available to them, though hens were captured in less than half of them. Additionally, more than 2/3 of the boxes where we didn't capture a hen were still visited, often by many different hens. So we can see the value of this new technological approach to nest site information gathering and selection. RFID records clearly indicate that most hens are visiting many more boxes than we had known, and variation in females visiting nest boxes was also previously unknown. About a quarter of hens in our population would have gone undetected without RFID, and we discovered that a whopping 84% of nest boxes were visited during a season. Our next question is, what could be driving these levels of individual variation? I don't have time to go into all of these, but here are some of the ways that we could attempt to address this. There could be categorically different types of hens, such as those that visit many boxes and those that visit only a few. Hens could vary in the number of nests they visit over their lifetimes, or they could pass along their nest visitation tendencies to their offspring. Also, all of this is in the context of wood ducks being conspecific brood parasites, and there may be different reproductive strategies that benefit from visiting different numbers of nests. To begin to approach these, here we have the figure from before with the number of nests each female visited. We can then break females into 2 categories: rovers that visit many nests, and stayers that visit only 1 or a few nests. Here is an example of a rover and a stayer, and their movements between boxes over a season. Note that the stayer visited only a single box, whereas the rover continuously moved between many boxes throughout the breeding season. Another question is whether or not these types of birds, rovers and stayers, are consistent across different years. This is a small subset of birds that we have known ages for, but even so, we can see that there are some degree of repeatability with respect to the number of unique nests visited each year across the lifetime of these hens. It remains to be seen if there is some heritable component to roving or staying, but like so many things, that is something we plan to examine in the near future. In conclusion, we have shown that by employing a novel observational method, we have uncovered hidden depths about a critically important reproductive behavior. We're learning a tremendous amount about how these birds gather and use information, which is broadening the types of questions we will soon be able to address. We want to thank all of the support we've received over the years from the National Science Foundation, the Dennis Raveling Endowment, the Selma Herr Fund, and the owners and managers of Conway, Roosevelt, and Birdhaven Ranch. And finally, I want to recognize and thank our incredible team of dedicated undergraduate interns and field technicians. Thank you all.